Great morning, great morning, great morning. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the It's About You radio show here on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. I'm your host, Maurice McDonald. Each and every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., I have the privilege, the honor, the prestige to be able to have this platform. I always say I don't take it lightly. I do not take it for granted. It is a blessing to me, and I hope I will be a blessing to you. This show is designed to get into your ears, into your heart, and hopefully into your legs to help you to move and become the very best person you can possibly be. Each and every morning at 8 o'clock, I don't take that for granted because I know at 8 o'clock someone's having breakfast, someone is in the office, someone's having that cup of coffee. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you. And because this is the It's About You radio show, I always say it is about you. Many people will say things like, well, it's not about you. It's about other people. Well, my show is about you and about me and what we choose to do and what we choose not to do. And so this show is brought to you by MauriceMcDonald.net, MauriceMcDonald.net. You'll learn more about your amazing gut health, your gut microbiome. But with that said, I always start with the morning quote of the day. The morning quote today is by someone I don't know, an anonymous person, but it says most obstacles melt away when you decide to walk boldly through them. Let me say that again. Most obstacles melt away when you decide to walk boldly through them. How many times have you seen an obstacle or something that appeared to be overwhelming to you? Something that happened and it was just such an obstacle, and maybe you fell apart, maybe you cried, maybe you threw the towel in, or maybe you started to complain or make excuses or whatever it is. But this says most obstacles will melt away when you decide to walk boldly through them. You see, that's a decision had to be made. Walk boldly through them. In spite of the fear, in spite of the tears, in spite of whatever the obstacle was, I'm going to walk boldly through it. And those of you of faith, you'll say, I'm not walking boldly through maybe in my name, but you're going to walk through in Jesus' name or whatever you're going to decide to do. I'm going to do it courageously. I'm scared, but my feet, my actions are not going to be scared. I'm going to act like I'm not scared. I'm not going to act like I'm not fearful. I'm going to walk boldly through because there's an obstacle. Somebody right now is listening to me. You got an obstacle right now. It could be a health challenge. It could be an economic. It could be a job. It could be a relationship. It could be you struggling in school. There's so many obstacles that come our way. And you got a couple of choices. Knock them out of the way, go around them, go over them, go under them. Let them know, speak to that obstacle, speak to that mountain, speak to it, and then put some action to it. Or sit there and backpedal, and I would go through, but you see, I can't. No, listen, you go through like somebody said something about your mama. You know, when somebody said something about your mama back in the day, no matter how big they were, you going to handle it. A scared dog, a small dog will fight you in their yard. They're not going to let you come in their yard and do what they got to do. So I need you this morning to get bold, to step up and say, there are obstacles I have, but they're going to melt away because I'm going to decide to walk boldly through them. And that has been your morning quote of the day, guys. Hope it's designed to get you to get started, to get going and saying, I got this, because you do have this. No matter what the obstacle is, you got this. You've been through worse. So make moves, no more excuses. Hey, listen, for the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about the word forgive and forgiveness. This is our third week. I told you it would be a series on this. And last week we had an awesome speaker as well, Pastor Plenty Wilkins, and he shared a lot of powerful nuggets. And the week before that, I kicked it off talking about it was to, decide to forgive. Then we talked about the power of forgiveness. And one of the things I want to start off today with is the definition of forgive. Webster's definition talks about to stop feeling anger or resentment towards someone or an offense, a flaw, or a mistake, to pardon or to let go of the desire for revenge. It can also mean releasing yourself from guilt or self-blame. You see, We talked about that last week too, and so again, let me say this. It says to stop feeling anger or resentment towards someone for an offense, a flaw, or mistake, to pardon or let go of the desire for revenge. But it says you can also mean releasing yourself from the guilt or self-blame. And we talked about that last week. And so it is important to understand when we start talking about forgiving, that's what it's about. We talked about forgiving yourself last week and those types of things. Well, today we're going to continue this. And I've got someone here today that, let me just tell you, just blesses my socks off every time I talk to this man. Man, we met 2 years ago, and I mean, he came in. He was a former student. Came into my classroom, and from day one, seeing him, oh my gosh, he was dropping nuggets left and right. Then I found out he'd been author of several books and still writing books, traveling all over the world, ministering in Africa and all over the place, and just blessing people. Him and his wife, doing some powerful things, and now he's graduated, moving on to other things and other school as well. And he's been on the show before, and he is no stranger to the It's About You radio show here today. And I'm just pleased to have, and that's Bishop Tony Hall with us here today. Good morning, Bishop Hall. How you doing?
Wonderful, Mr. Mack. It's so good to hear your voice, and all the things you spoke were so powerful, and so I'm just honored to be with you today.
Listen, I knew when it came down to word forgiveness and talking about, for forgiving, I knew you were on the list of people I had to have on the show because you and I have had many, many different conversations. Today we're going to have another one and just bless my listeners. I know that, but for those individuals that don't know you, did a little bit about the background about who you are. I've mentioned that you've written several books and those types of things. If you take the time out now, just tell us about some of the books you've written and some of the titles and how you got your inspiration to write these books.
Well, Mr. Mack, I grew up, of course, and I was born in the 50s, was raised in the 60s during a very, very volatile time in this country, saw some horrible, horrible things, went through a lot of traumas, been through a lot of pain and family in every setting that I've been in. And so I had to make a decision. I got married when I was really young, almost 50 years now I've been married. And I had to make some decisions. Was I going to be mad for the rest of my life, or was I going to get hold of my life in order to be able to be effective and be what God has called me to be? Mm-hmm. And so, 13 years ago, I wrote a book, and because I had started touching other people, raising up other men and families and women, and just strengthening the body of Christ everywhere I go. And so everybody always talked about the principles that I would talk about. And one time a lady said, "You need to put that in the book." And every time she'd see me, she'd say, "Have you started?" I said, "No, I haven't started yet." So she invited me and my wife over her house for dinner. Her name is Stacy Joseph now, Stacy Harris. And so she invited us to dinner. We just went over there, had a good time. I did premarital counseling with them. She said, "I'm going to stop the excuses. You're going to start now." And so I wrote a book called The 10 Things I Wish My Father Had Taught Me. And that book had something to do with the 10 principles, how I went from a drug addict at 15 and in gangs at 12, and until a high school dropped out when I was 16, and everybody, they said I'd never be anything. I went from that to a man that was changing the world. So my first book is the 10 principles that I talk about, the 10 things I wish my father had taught me. Then I wrote a book about wisdom. There's a book called The Green Room. It's just about wisdom, and I break down the wisdom that's needed for every age group, from birth to 70. And in those 10 range, every 10 years, you need a different type of wisdom. And me and my wife were just talking a few minutes ago, and one thing she brought up, I forgot that I mentioned it many years ago. In seasons, there's missed seasons and there's messed up seasons. And so a lot of times we miss seasons, like I did going to school, graduating, and then there was messed up season where I got on drugs young and stuff like that. Okay. Then my third book I wrote was called Fight Like Hell, a guide to building an amazing marriage. So I put in that book how I've been able to go from two high school dropout kids, pregnant, no hope, until now we're changing married couples all over the world. And then my fourth book that I wrote Giving Voice to a Fatherless Generation. And that book was because we have such a generation that doesn't even know their father wasn't there. And so a lot of our problems in our society, in my opinion, is because of the lack of fathers. Yes. And of course, I'm writing my fifth book to be released in 2027 on how we've been able to make it to 50 years of an amazing marriage.
Man, so you see why, my audience, I hope they're hearing this. You see why thank you for clarifying why you're on this show. They know that is there. So it's so powerful. I know that one about forgiving ourselves is so huge. The mistakes we make, and sometimes many people carry those burdens, carry their mistakes like it was just a weight around your neck, and pulling you down, and you're adding weight every day, that you get jumping in the water with the weight around your neck. You're gonna drown because of it. You got to take the weight off. But since we're talking about forgiveness, how do you personally define forgiveness, and how has the definition evolved over time, in your opinion?
Well, giving up the right to be right. That's what I believe forgiveness is. Giving up the right to be right. Quick story. I have millions of stories like you.
Yeah.
My father, the night before he died, he called me, and he told me, he says, "Tony, I want you to come home, and you and your brothers to paint my basement." And so I lived in Houston at the time, and I said, "Well, Dad, why don't we get everybody, one of our brothers that lives in Detroit, and have him to find somebody to paint the basement, all of us shipping money to pay for it." And my father just went crazy. He went, he was a very bitter man, hard man, harsh man, and he just started cussing me out, saying all kind of horrible things. And I said to him, "You will never cuss me out again." And I hung up the phone in his face. And I said, I'm done with it. All you've done is always run me down, blah, blah, blah. Well, the next morning they found him dead in the bed. Went home, didn't have anything really good to say about him at the funeral. Even though I was doing the funeral, I didn't really have anything good to say about him. But I was nice. I was being courteous. But I noticed over time, Mr. McDonald, I begin to start being like my father. Because when you don't forgive, you become like the attacker. You become just like the person that you should have forgave.
Mm.
And so I begin to start what I hated most. I start becoming. So one day I told my wife, I'm going to Detroit. We had the funeral in the wintertime, which what they do in Detroit in the wintertime, they don't bury people in the wintertime. They take the bodies in a casket, put it in some kind of warehouse, and then when spring comes, then they go and they can dig the ground to bury the person. So this was like 3 years later, and I was getting worse and worse. And the real reason why was because I didn't forgive my father. There's a lot of other things that happened, but for this story tell, I didn't forgive my father. And so in that book that I wrote about the 10 things I wish my father had taught me, I wrote a chapter called Knowing Your Father's Story. And I think a lot of times we judge people when we really don't have all the facts.
Come on.
Oh, we don't know. I didn't know my father was born in the Great Depression, where they would ride down the street and see dead black people hanging from trees. Yeah. So you have to know the story. And so I went to Detroit. I told my wife, I'm going to Detroit. Got me a ticket. Went to Detroit. Went out to the cemetery. I didn't know where he was born, where he was buried. And I went to the casket. I went to where he was buried, and I began to have a conversation. I know, it may sound crazy to somebody, but let me just say this one thing. You are responsible for gaining your peace.
Come on. Say that again.
You're responsible. You can't give anybody the power for your peace. You have to do whatever you need to do in order to have your peace. And I went out there and I began to say, Daddy, I release you. I release you from the hurt. I release you from the pain. I release you from all the horrible things you said. I release you from saying everybody that you knew that's name was Tony ended up in jail. I released you from looking down at me because I dropped out of school. I went over all those things, Mr. Mack. I'm standing out there like a madman, tears coming down my eyes, releasing all the things.
Mm.
And when I got done, I went back to the airport and came back home. And I've been changed ever since then. And so now that I'm getting older, I am today the age that my father was when he died. And now knowing his story, I feel horrible that I wish there was a way that I could have went to him and tried to help him like I helped so many other people that's going through horrible things. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes.
Forgiveness is releasing the person from the pain and walking and finding out how you can be delivered. That's the reason why deliverance is important. That's why deliverance and forgiveness is important.
And you said that deliverance, that forgiveness is not trying to be right. Is that what you said? Something, a releasing the need to be right?
Right.
Yes.
Giving up the need to be right.
Giving up the need to be right. Because a lot of times, man, you said so many things, but those nuggets I heard was, I want to be right. I want to feel right, the principle of the thing. And I heard you say release people. So I believe you just blessed a bunch of people who are listening right now who haven't spoken to somebody in a long time, or a family member, or a colleague, or whatever it may be. You said releasing them, and hold the, because, it's easy to hold on to it. Holding on to it is like that weight that's around that neck that I talked about. You're adding weight every day. It's getting heavier. You don't know what they said to me. You don't know what they did to me. And like you said, knowing your dad's story, oftentimes we don't know the story of people they were upset with. The things that they went through. When people do horrible things, if you knew their story, what they went through, and they did not get help, unresolved issues, that could be why they did what they did and said what they said. But the idea of releasing that is a choice. We've been talking about that over the week, that, forgiveness is truly a choice. I think about, of course, you didn't know what my morning quote of the day was going to be about. And sometimes I don't know until I see something that speak to me. And I saw this one, but it said, most obstacles melt away when you decide to walk boldly through them. And I believe forgiveness is that same way. I decide to walk boldly through. What are your thoughts about some of that?
But here's number one, it takes courage. In order to forgive, it takes courage. You can walk in and cuss the person out. You don't even need courage to do that. All you need to have understanding. But it takes courage to say, I release you from that. Now, I may not ever have a relationship with you, but I release you from that. Because releasing a person from that have harmed you, that have hurt you, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you. But it takes courage to do that. It takes courage. It's almost like drinking poison and thinking the other person is going to die.
Right.
Because the longer you hold on to unforgiveness, that is the poison that you drink. and it gets worse and worse with time. And before you know it, you start spewing on other people that had nothing to do with it.
Yes. So
that's why forgiveness is so important. Have you noticed that? And I don't know if the people that we're talking to, if they're Bible believers or whatever like that, but there was a powerful principle that I've been talking about for the last 20 years. I said, have you noticed when I do my relationship building? I said, have you noticed that Jesus never told you to pray for your friends? Never told you to pray for your parents. Never told you, because that's easy to do. But Jesus says, pray for your enemies. Why would Jesus tell you to pray for your enemies? Because he knows that you cannot hate somebody that you pray for.
Ooh. Hard
It's
to pray.
impossible.
Yeah, because if you're praying for them, it's hard to hate them.
Yeah, it's impossible. I'm not talking about saying a few words. I'm talking about in your heart, pray for a person. It's hard to hate them if you're praying for them. And so Jesus told them, listen, pray for your enemies. Pray for those that despitefully use you. If you have 2 coats and your enemy need one, give them one of your coats. Because Jesus was trying to prep their heart to change the world. And in order to do that, they were going to be hung, they were going to be crucified upside down, boiled. And the Bible talks about in Acts, a man named Stephen, when they came and they were about to stone him, they had the rocks in their hand, waiting to just say ready to stone him. He could have said anything. He could have stopped the stoning. But you know what he said? He prayed and says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Giving up the right to be right. Because it has nothing to do about the person that hurt you. It has everything to do about you. And you know that you're really free from it when you can look at that person that hurt you and not have an attitude towards them.
Wow. I never know where our conversation is going to go, but it is truly a wonderful point of what you're saying, and I know my listeners are being blessed because, number one, you're dropping some gems. It's about this choice to let go. When I look at praying for my enemy, because you said, and Jesus never said pray for your family, your friends, or whatever. But guess what? It is easy to pray for family.
Yeah.
Lord, bless me, my 4 no more. It's one of those. It's one of those things where I want to pray for people I like, but the people I don't care for. Ooh, and see that.
And they may be your family.
Yeah, it could be family.
They may be your family. They may be your mother. They may be your father that wasn't there.
Yes.
It may be an uncle that tried to molest you. It may be a cousin that took money from you and didn't pay you back.
Yeah.
You have to take courage. I remember when I first came in your class, and I was sitting there thinking, why am I doing this? I'm happily retired. I never have to work again. And what am I doing? It's too tough. Why am I doing this? And here's what you said. In order to succeed in this field, it takes courage. It takes courage.
Yes, it does.
And in order to forgive, in order to walk in forgiveness, it takes courage.
Yes. And I believe many times this idea of courage is where people don't want courage. They want courage in other things.
Right.
But courage in this arena is it's so releasing. We're gonna take a break in a little second, but a few minutes. But one thing I definitely realize that what you're saying right now, somebody can relate to it, because you got some people who are not forgiven right now who are listening to this, and it's gonna take courage for them to hear the word and stay with it, as opposed to, I'm gonna change the station because he's saying something I don't want to agree. He don't know. I don't know. He don't know my situation, because everybody seems to think their situation is so unique, that their pain, that nobody's ever been through it, that nobody's ever experienced what I'm going through. And my grandmother once said, there's nothing new under the sun. That everybody's been through some stuff, some struggles, and the pain of it. And I tell you what, when we come back, we're going to pick up right here. We're going to take a quick break.
Your body is the most advanced operating system in the world. Every day, trillions of cells run millions of processes at once. Over time, it can start to slow down due to stress, poor sleep, diet, environmental stressors. It can feel overwhelming. Suddenly, you feel the lag. Brain fog, low energy, poor digestion, slower recovery. That's your system struggling to keep up. What if, instead, you could give yourself an edge to tackle what the day has in store? From the creators of the world's most powerful activation products comes Healthy Edge. Healthy Edge starts with Protandim NRF2 Synergizer. It reduces oxidative stress by up to 40% in 30 days by activating your natural cellular defense system to help your body make its own antioxidants that are 1,000,000 times more powerful than any you could ever take. The other half of Healthy Edge is P84. Using the right amount of whole food ingredients, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, and digestive enzymes, P84 activates the master peptides in your gut that help regulate, repair, and restore balance, going beyond supplementation. On their own, each activator is powerful. Together, they help you feel unstoppable. NRF2 Synergizer is your defense. P84 is your offense. And when they work as one, you don't just keep up, you stay ahead of everything life throws your way. Want to level up your activation? Check out our other activator products and learn about sharing these life-changing products to start a healthy side business. Take back your day with Healthy Edge.
To learn more about Healthy Edge, simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net. That's MauriceMcDonald.net. Again, MauriceMcDonald.net to learn about the Healthy Edge and take back your day. We're back. We're back here on the It's About You radio show here. WDRB Media, the voice of the community. Your host, Maurice McDonald. And we've been talking about forgiveness. This is a continuation of a series that we've been talking about here about forgiveness. And I don't think this is by no accident. As a matter of fact, I told 2 weeks ago, if you were here on the show, 3 weeks ago, this topic came to me while in the shower. I believe it's from me, I'm delivering it, but it's not from me. I truly believe that, and that's why I'm reaching out to some powerful people to talk about this forgiveness. I believe the hospitals are full of people sometimes who have not forgiven. And the doctors can't get diagnoses. They realize what's going on. They're harboring some feelings for years, and it's affecting them physically. And the medicine won't work until they make a clear decision to forgive. And of course, I've got my guest here today, Bishop Tony Hall, who's been just dropping some gems here today, talking about it. And Bishop, we talk a little bit about this healing of this from or choosing to let go. But in your experience, why do you think people often struggle with forgiving others or themselves?
Well, because some people are married to dysfunction. And so a lot of people, it's easier for them to hold on to pain. I often say that if God were to say to me, and of course God won't, but if he say to me, so what problems do you have with me? One of the problems that I would say to him is, why don't you have it where if somebody forgives somebody, they forget about it? That they don't remember it anymore. I mean, he doesn't. When we ask him for forgiveness, he forgives us and remember it no more. How come we can't be like that? So we remember it and we don't let it go. That's why you got the saying, I know you remember when we were young kids, I'm going to forgive you, but I ain't going to forget.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the worst way to be. But when you give up the right for the right, what you're saying is, I am going to let it go. and I am going to show honor to you, and I'm going to pray for you. That's why praying for your enemies is important.
Mm.
So when you don't have the ability or won't, now it's not about ability, it's won't. When you won't let go of who hurt you, how they hurt you. You may say to me, well, you don't understand what I've been through. Listen, we can spend the next 3 hours me telling you the stuff that I've been through. But you know what? You know who was killing? It was killing me. It was killing my family. It was killing my children. It was killing my legacy.
Yes.
And some people, Mr. McDonald, they can't seem to let it go because they feel like if I let it go, then you've won.
Yes.
And that's not true.
Mm.
If you don't let it go, you lose.
Yes. If I don't let it go, I lose. That is so true. And this idea of winning, I win, you lose mentality, as opposed to, listen, this is a win-win situation.
Yeah.
I win, you win, because number one, I win because I released it. I don't have that anymore. And going back to the physical pain. There are people with headaches, migraine headaches, and all kind of ailments. Can't sleep at night. Popping pills, sleeping pills. Got a pill to wake up. Got a pill to go to sleep. Every other week they're in the doctor's office. They got all kind of issues going on. And medically, the doctors that, well, all your tests, they're coming back normal. And the bottom line is they need to check up from the neck up. They need to let go of something that they cannot control. Because I'm a firm believer that people like to control.
Yeah.
I want to know. I know I had to let go, of some things. I want to be in control. But this part about forgiving themselves, I believe oftentimes people don't want to forgive themselves because it's easier for me to walk in my own misery.
Yeah.
And to walk into something where I was a loser. I've always been a loser in the family. And some people like to have pity parties.
Yeah.
And when somebody, they may have a gift. I go back to some of my students. The first thing they start talking about is their past.
Yeah.
I was incarcerated. I was this. I'm an alcoholic. I was on the pole. I was a dancer. I was a teenage mom, and now they're 35, 40 years old. I'm too old to go to school. My teacher said I was no good, and they lead with that, and that's the rearview mirror, and they never look at the windshield, but they're forever looking backwards. I knew I failed that test. What are some of your thoughts along those lines of forgiving themselves, even when you've made the mistakes?
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is your I'm gonna say it again. It's your responsibility to get free from unforgiveness. I thought there's a lady I was trying to remember where she was at, but this lady, this kid killed her son, shot him and killed him, took his shoes from him, and shot him and killed him. When she sat there in the trial, listening to the gruesome things that happened to her son, of course she was totally devastated and just had built up so much anger. And then when they got to the place where they start talking about where this kid come from, what he went through, and everything like that, when the judge says that you have life with no possibility of parole, she felt like it was over. She can try to go on with her life, but she could never sleep. And she said to herself, I don't know. So she went to the doctor. The doctor says, I don't see anything. And one night she said, I think it's because I didn't forgive this guy that killed my son.
Mm.
I didn't forgive him.
Yeah.
And so when forgiveness comes, there has to be an action attached to forgiveness.
Yes.
There has to be an action. And so do you know what she does? She writes that guy that killed her son, writes him once a month.
Ooh.
With words of encouragement, words of affirmation, encourage him to get his education, all this kind of stuff. In holidays, she'd take a gift by for during the holidays. And people would say, you're crazy. Here's what she said. She says, my son is never coming back. He's gone and not coming back. So the only thing I can do is I have to work on what do I need to do to really walk in forgiveness, because then what was happening after he died, after the trial, there was two people about to die.
Yes.
She couldn't be a good wife. She couldn't be a good mother. She couldn't be a good citizen until she started doing something to walk in her forgiveness that she let this young man go. He has to struggle with the pain of killing this guy. But guess what? She is doing whatever it takes to walk in forgiveness. But to answer your question, so many people, it feels better to have the bitterness than the actual walk in freedom.
My. And
I don't know about you, but I want to walk in freedom.
Come on. That freedom, listen, walking in agony, carrying it for a decade, carrying that pain and all those things. And I believe sometimes also one of the areas I wanted to touch upon was, how do culture and family backgrounds influence the way forgiveness is understood or expressed? I think sometimes culturally, and or if I've never witnessed my parents forgive, because a lot of times parents want children to forgive, but they've never modeled it, and they grow up themselves that way. But what are your thoughts along the way culture or family background influence the way people forgive or understood or how they express forgiveness?
So that's a powerful, powerful question. So, and the reason why family pain is so deep, because there's a different expectation that's attached to family. You expect family to love you, forgive you, to help you, to love on you, to be that. And so when there's deception or when there's hurt or when there's pain in the family, it's different from somebody that you just met. It's different from somebody that you work with. It's different from somebody that you go to church with. Family deep and family in the culture and the family is so much deeper. So I think that what has to happen to a person is, number one, let me tell you something. It's your responsibility to get free. I wrote a chapter in my first book called The 10 Things I Wish My Father Had Taught Me. I talked about becoming what you wish you had versus what you got. So I grew up in a very racist time. Me and you, we saw a lot of stuff that these kids today haven't seen. So I was very bitter and hated white people. And then God dropped me in the middle for years dealing with a predominantly white organization that I was attached to. So I went in with the mindset that I hate all these people. When it comes to my family, there's a different expectation. And so when there's an expectation that you have with your parents, there's an expectation that you have with your father and mother. There's an expectation that you have with your siblings. There's an expectation that you have with uncles and aunts. Everybody, there is a level of expectation. So as you grow into maturity, you got to take down that standard of what they need to be to you, and because a lot of times they just can't be that. They can't be that. I look at my kids and my siblings' kids and how they get along so well and stuff like that. And I'm like, how come me and my siblings couldn't get along like that? Because guess what? There was a different age, different time, different traumas. And so I had to break away from that in order to really start my own life, in order to find out what the standard is.
Yes.
So with my siblings that hurt me, that wounded me, that was mean to me and stuff like that, I end up preaching most of their funerals.
Wow.
And I loved on them. I loved on them. I just loved on them because I needed to do whatever. I did what I wish somebody would do for me. I'm
Right.
sorry, I may be jumping around. So
That's okay. That's okay.
I was to others what I wish somebody was to me.
That is so true, and that is, I think that gets your mind off of you. Treating people, and I believe the biggest thing about forgiveness is I can't be first. I can't put my feelings first because my feelings has got me in this mess. Doing and behaving, treating people the way better than the way I want to be treated. Because everybody said treat people how you want to be treated. Well, how about if you treat them better? I know as a law enforcement officer, I used to tell people a lot of times when we have officers who just do the bare minimum. And they don't do the referrals. They know they go to a house and you'll hear everybody's story. And there are some places you can refer them to get help. If the individual, if they're out of food, they're out of situation, they have a son that's on drugs, there are some referral places and most people don't know it. And you can tell them about these. And others withhold the information, see. When you're withholding information, the question is why? If that was your grandmother, would you want somebody to withhold that information?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the same thing here. Withholding that feeling of letting it go, saying, you know what? I'm going to be the bigger man right now. I'm going to be the bigger woman in my mind. I ain't got to tell them that. I'm going to go head on and do against what my feelings want. Because I think feelings get in the way. You know, and you don't know, and get all that out of the way. And I'm just thinking here, what crosses my mind, what advice would you give someone who wants to forgive but doesn't know where to start? What's a starting point? Let's just say this is not necessarily a family member, whatever, or just anybody, because there's always a starting line somewhere.
It's amazing you asked that question. So I talked to a couple last night, and I always tell people that I don't judge people. I don't sit in the seat of judgment. And the reason why I don't is because if I judge you, then I got to bring my mess to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
If I judge you, that's why the Bible talks about don't be judging unless you be judged. Because as soon as I judge Mr. McDonald, then I got to bring all my mess up to the front. Because all of us got some mess.
Yeah, we do.
All of us got something. No matter how shiny you look, what you have, how much you have, all of us have something. So the first step is realizing why you need forgiveness. So this guy told me one time, a friend of mine, my son was wilding out. He was like 16. Oh my, climbing out the windows, acting like a fool. And so I was so frustrated by it. My wife was crying. She was hurt. I said, he can never come back to this house. Never. He can't ever come home. And here's what my friend told me. This changed my life. My friend said, well, I understand. I understand how you would feel that way. He says, let me tell you about me. I'm going to always show mercy because I never know when I'm going to need mercy. I'm going to show mercy because I don't know when I need it. Whenever you have to make a choice of how do I start forgiveness, you need to be honest enough to say, how much do I need mercy?
Wow.
I'm not talking about what people see and they perceive. How much do I need mercy? And if a person is mature enough and real enough and sincere enough and humble enough, all of us, Mr. McDonald. I am, every time somebody talks about all the things that we've done and stuff like that, I kind of shrink back because I know God has been good to us to do the things we do. But guess what? I've always needed mercy. I didn't rob banks. I didn't kill people. But I was a very kind of difficult person. Been through a lot of traumas, been through a lot of hurt, been through a lot of pain, and I caused a lot of pain.
Right.
I caused a lot of pain. And so you know what I wanted? I wanted them to have mercy. And I made a mistake when I was 19 years old. I'm almost 70 years old, and people are still holding the girl over my head. All these years, they're still holding it against me. 50 years. And so I needed mercy. So you know what? You can never get mercy if you don't give mercy.
There you go. That is so true.
The first step is realizing that I need mercy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give away what I need. It's not about being the better person. Forget about that. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the better person. It's not about being the better person, because all of us are flawed.
Yes.
I dress nice. I drive nice. You're right. We've been all over the world. We stayed in the best hotels. We ate the best restaurants. But guess what? Flawed.
Come on. Hey, yes. All of that don't matter.
We've touched hundreds of thousands of people. Flawed.
Keeping it real. Hey, before we go, tell me the story of the two boxes.
Oh yeah. I think that our perception. I think perception about ourselves is very important. So what I give every client that I have, I make them get a piece of paper. And those of you that's listening, this is going to change this is a game changer. So on that piece of paper, I have them to write two boxes, two big boxes, two square boxes. When I travel and preach, I get two big pieces of luggage and bring it on the stage. And in one box is the things that happened to you that you had no control over. Things that happened to you, right? And there's a lot of things that happened to us we had no control over. Divorce, broken home, broken lives, poor, whatever. But then that other box is the things that I caused to happen. And in that box is where you're going to fill up that box more than the first box. So what do you do about the things that's in that box? What do you do about the things that happened to you that you had no control over? What are you going to do about that box of things that you created? So you look in the box of the things you created and say, this is why I need mercy. Because all these things that I did, there's guys in prison for life in Detroit that was doing stuff that we both did together, but I didn't get caught.
Come on, that's right.
So I need mercy. I need mercy. And so if you want to receive forgiveness, then you have to give forgiveness. Because when you don't give forgiveness, then you never can receive it. Even if a person trying to forgive you about something, you never can receive it. You have to give it first.
Yes, giving it.
That's what those two boxes are for.
Yes. You bless me every time you talk about those two boxes, because if I look at forgiveness, and if I look at the box of stuff that happened to me beyond my control, the other person's got a box too. And I've looked at the box things I caused. A lot of times I might not want to look at that box because, the only reason I did that because they did that. And I forget what I caused. Even the things I caused to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yep.
The pain that I got, somebody's mad at me because guess what? You got a best friend, but there's also somebody else sees you as an enemy. As sweet as you are, as perfect as you think you are, somebody don't like you. You said something, you stepped on somebody's toes, you did something that somebody's holding against you, and you don't even know you made them mad. But yet you don't think you did it. It's kind of like the people driving a car. I always hear these people bragging, as a former officer, you stop somebody. I've been driving 30 years. I ain't never had an accident. Yeah, but how many have you caused? By turning in front of somebody, you turn right on red to go 100 yards, and people behind you running 60, and they hit the pump on brakes, and you cause an accident a quarter mile back. You didn't see it, but you hurt somebody. Your actions. And I think a lot of time this unbelief or this unforgiveness, we forget that, that other box we got in there. And I definitely want you to talk about that box, because many times people who are listening right now, they want forgiveness, but they themselves aren't willing to forgive.
Yeah. I've always said that old people look so sincere, you look at old people and like, man, these people are so sincere, they're seasoned, wisdom, all that kind of stuff. And you forget that they were once young.
Yep.
They weren't always, especially since now that I'm an old man.
Yeah.
I realize that, we're all flawed. So
Yes.
I'm gonna, a few weeks ago, a lady came to me. I don't know how much time we got, but
Yeah.
a lady came to me, and she was in tears, full blown tears. And she began to talk to. I need to ask you to forgive me. I said, for what? She said, because a year ago you preached a message, and you made a statement about something, and me and my husband was going to get up and walk out. This was a white lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were in a group of ladies the other day, and your name came up, and we began to talk about you. Number one, I talk a lot. I minister a lot. I can't keep up with what I say, but
Mm-hmm.
you do it. And this woman has been holding that for a year. I didn't even know that she had something in her heart against me. So I wasn't afforded the ability to say, I'm so sorry. I would never speak to hurt anybody. But she held that thing, and every time she saw me, she was nice to me, but she was holding that thing.
Yes. Holding
and
it.
That is the problem with walking in unforgiveness. Sometimes the person that you have something against, they don't even know it.
They
in
don't
that
know
first
it.
box, your mom and dad, have you ever gone back and talked to them and said, look, just tell me what was going on at that same time? Because
right.
most people, they only judge in action, Mr. McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know the story of everything that was going on at the same time when some offense had been taken. So once you get all in, like you were a police officer, you don't come on the scene and the first person that somebody point at, then you arrest them. You got to find out the whole story and find out, you got to put the pieces together.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So those of you that's listening to me, before you live the rest of your life in unforgiveness, why don't you go sit down with the person and say, look, I just want to buy you lunch. I want to buy you dinner. I've given up my right to be right. I just want to know what was going on when this was going on. And that person may be a low down person that thinks that they were right to do what they did. And in that case, you have to say, you know what? I'm letting it go. It's no problem. I let it go. It hurt me, but I'm letting it go.
Yes,
because I want you to be free, and I want to be free.
Oh man, that's powerful. Listen, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Your body is the most advanced operating system in the world. Every day, trillions of cells run millions of processes at once. Over time, it can start to slow down due to stress, poor sleep, diet, environmental stressors. It can feel overwhelming. Suddenly, you feel the lag. Brain fog, low energy, poor digestion, slower recovery. That's your system struggling to keep up. What if, instead, you could give yourself an edge to tackle what the day has in store? From the creators of the world's most powerful activation products comes Healthy Edge. Healthy Edge starts with Protandim NRF2 Synergizer. It reduces oxidative stress by up to 40% in 30 days by activating your natural cellular defense system to help your body make its own antioxidants that are 1,000,000 times more powerful than any you could ever take. The other half of Healthy Edge is P84. Using the right amount of whole food ingredients, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, and digestive enzymes, P84 activates the master peptides in your gut that help regulate, repair, and restore balance, going beyond supplementation. On their own, each activator is powerful. Together, they help you feel unstoppable. NRF2 Synergizer is your defense. P84 is your offense. And when they work as one, you don't just keep up, you stay ahead of everything life throws your way. Want to level up your activation? Check out our other activator products and learn about sharing these life-changing products to start a healthy side business. Take back your day with Healthy Edge.
To learn more about Healthy Edge, simply go to MauriceMcDonald.net. That's MauriceMcDonald.net. Again, MauriceMcDonald.net to learn about the Healthy Edge and take back your day. We're back, guys, for this About You radio show. We've been talking about forgiveness with Bishop Hall, and the time has gone by so quickly. Bishop, tell us about the story you shared about the corn, the beanstalk.
So in my backyard, I had 3 trees, and during the fall, they just had leaves fall everywhere. So we had them cut down, and so we had the stump removed, which was a bunch of money. And so one day, several weeks ago, as I was backing my truck up, I noticed that there is something that looked like a corn stalk. But in my mind, I'm thinking, man, we don't plant corn. So I went in the house. So maybe a few days later, I saw the thing getting taller. So I jumped out, looked in the back, and looked, and there was a corn stalk, like 8 foot tall, and it had 3 ears of corn on it. And I'm like, man, where in the world does this come from? I've never planted any corn. So I called the man that takes care of our lawn. I said, what would happen? How'd that come? Here's what he told me. He said, birds, they fly hundreds of miles. And they stop by these corn stalks, eat the corn, and while they're using the restroom everywhere, dropping those seeds, wherever they drop, it goes into the ground and become a seed. And so that thing has grown up in your backyard. The only way to stop it is to dig the thing all the way out. And a lot of people go through stuff like that. People come into their lives and they leave
mess. They leave poop. They leave crap.
Mess. Okay, I'm trying to be nice.
That's all right.
They drop the mess. And listen, we're talking about some birds come from 100 miles with that in them and drop it. They're in the sky where you can't even see them, but they're dropping stuff. And that is the principle of how people live life. Sometimes the people that hurt you the most was people that ate something when they were young, and they come by and meet you and drop the mess on you. And before you know it, you look and say, where did that come from? So you know what I have to do? You got to go on the ground and dig the thing up. Unless you want a beanstalk in your backyard.
Listen, in the midst of the crap that somebody...
In the midst of the
crap, a corn came out of it. And one thing about it is, whatever the bird ate came up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people like that, when people aren't forgiving you, they got a lot of mess in them perhaps. And if I recognize it, I know what it is. Since I know I got a choice. Like you said, everything started off with a choice. First thing you said today, that you had to make a choice. You have to choose to be free if you want to be free. And you can't walk around with unforgiveness in you, because just like the crap that bird dropped out, you're building up crap of unforgiveness in you. and you block your blessings. You can't do things right. You wonder why, like I said, physically, emotionally, financially, things. You married 3 or 4 times because you were the same way. You didn't forgive your first wife. You didn't forgive your second wife, your first husband. You talked about. You did the same pattern, expecting different results. And we're just saying today, like you said, the first thing to beginning is to admit, number one, that I need forgiveness. So if somebody wants to be, if they want to free themselves, free their mind, start, number one, forgiving other people, walking in your goodness, walking in your grace, and realizing that, listen, there's another opportunity to get it right every single day, but it starts with letting go. Listen, time has gone by so quickly today. Listen, you got to come back. We got some more ground to cover. I just want to thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, doing a lot of amazing things, still blessing the lives of people, and you got an open invitation to be on this show anytime, sir, because I know you come with a lot of wisdom, and since day one meeting you, you have been an inspiration to me. So thank you so much. Hey, guys, listen. This has been the It's About You radio show here each and every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch this show, if you miss some shows, you can go to It's About You, my It's About You YouTube page. It's About You. You can see the shows there and get them there. You can also follow me on Instagram, Maurice McDonald 51. And there you can shoot me an email, lovebiome, LOVE 22 at gmail.com. Lovebiome, LOVEBIOME 22 at gmail. Or you can reach me any way you can. You may do so also on Facebook. With that said, we're going to see you next week because we're going to be in the building.